Real estate agents, stop sounding defensive when buyers ask you about buyer agency agreements. Questions like, why do I have to sign something just to see a house? Do I pay you or the seller? We'll cover these and more in today's Tuesday training. Hey everybody, Mike Ferrante here with LPT Realty and the Mike team. We're real estate agents serving Greater Cleveland, Northeast Ohio, all the way down to Central Ohio. And speaking of Central Ohio, special guest today, Mike team member Mike Pillow is going to help out. He is from, you probably have heard of Mount Vernon, but more uniquely, Mike covers Apple Valley, the Apple Valley Lake area, and covers pretty much what, an hour and a half radius in Central Ohio. So whether you have a real estate need in Northeast Ohio or Central Ohio, as the kids say, hashtag HMU, hit me up. Go to 21mike.com, click that button at the top, and you can schedule an appointment. We can talk some real estate. Now, let's get to the topic of the day. Agents, and Mike, we do this on our Saturday role play so much. We turn things into objections and they really aren't. So Mike has been a frequent role play partner here for the last couple of years, and I've watched him get better and better. Mike, first, before we get started on these scenarios, talk about practice. You know, the old Allen Iverson practice and what it's meant for you in improving how you interact with clients.
Well, practice is key. It's key to everything. One of the NFL's great wide receivers, Jerry Rice, he would start every season off going to rookie training camp because he always wanted to get better. And look how good he is or was. Um, so yeah, the role play on Saturdays when I first started, I couldn't get through a role play without stumbling. And I think I've improved a
Yeah.
little bit over time.
A little bit. Yep. Now you're one of the people that other people learn from. So I bring up the role play only to say, hey, no matter where you are in the country, in the world, if you want to join us for role play, there's no secrets here. We all just want to get better. So just email me. It's Mike at 21mike.com. I can add you to that invite and join us for Saturday role play. Now we do it kind of early on Saturdays because we've got to go out and get to appointments. That's 8:30 Eastern time on Saturdays. Just shoot me an email, Mike at 21mike.com. Happy to add you. We do that by Zoom, of course, and we typically don't do video because we're mostly role playing phone calls. But sometimes we're role playing face to face video, like open house scripts, meeting in person, presenting the buyer agency documents. And that's what we're focusing on today is the buyer agency agreement, typically on a phone call, and especially with someone that you don't already know. So you're talking to a stranger. I call Mike up and I say, hey, you inquired about 123 Main Street, and we're going to go see this property. And I dig deep, I find out a bunch of information. And then we get to the part about buyer agency agreements, and the prospect starts asking us questions, and we get defensive. And that's when the wheels fall off. That's when you lose the prospect. So something as simple as, why do I have to sign something just to see a house? It's not necessarily an objection, guys. I mean, that one probably is most like an objection because it's a why question. But remember, first of all, best tip that we can give you, and we practice this in role play, is not just getting into the boxing match, as we call it. Don't just come back with data. So Mike, we used to do this a lot, where we'd say, well, this is how I get paid, or, this protects me, and we talk about this all the time. Buyer doesn't care, right? They don't give a hoot about us.
No, it's not about us. It's about the client.
And so some of these questions we have to put it back on them. What's in it for them? That's kind of the spin that I want to talk about here because that's what they care about. So why do I have to sign something just to see a house? that's something where we can talk about the need. Oh, well, let's talk about this house for a second. And, I can, and what value can I provide? So let's start with that one. Go ahead and throw that one at me. We've been talking for a few minutes. I've dug deep. I'm just going to make some stuff up about what you've told me. And then I kind of casually mention, hey, by the way, when we get to the house, I'm going to have you sign a couple documents. And one of them is this buyer's agency agreement. And then you press me on it. Okay. So let's start with that. We're going to couple documents. I'll show them to you. I'll email them to you. When we get to the house, I'll go over, answer questions, and we can go see the house.
All right.
And that's it. So you're going to ask me now, well, what do you mean? Why do I have to sign something just to see a house?
Yeah, I don't get it, Mike. I mean, I've seen all kinds of homes in the past. I've never had to sign anything. What's this all about?
Yeah. So I'm going to respond with a question. When is the last time you bought a house, Mike?
Oh, it's been about 10 years ago.
Uh, yeah. Are you aware of some of the changes that have occurred in that time?
No, man, I would just want to buy a house here. I want to get in here and take a look at this place. It meets my needs. I'm not really all that concerned about the changes. I just want to get in and see it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're like most people. You just want to see the house. You found one that really suits your needs and you just want to see it. And Mike, I'll tell you, there have been a few changes over the last year and a half. And now, in order for me to be your buyer's agent and open the door and show you this house, there are some documents that we have to sign. I know that's different than 10 years ago, but hey, the good news is that we can customize this document to suit your needs. For example, Mike, our agreement has a cancellation clause, so it's not binding you for more than just today. And after today, if we decide we're not going to work together, you just say, "Hey, Mike, thanks for showing me 123 Main Street," and we go our separate ways. Does that make you feel better about signing something today?
Well, it does. I'm just thinking, would it make more sense if I just call the listing agent directly because he can get me in without, any kind of signature because he's already signed with the seller, so he could just let me in, right?
Yeah, a lot of people think that, Mike, and I get that question quite a bit. And certainly some people do contact the listing agent. But here's the problem. Who do you think the listing agent represents? Whose best interest do they have in mind? So if you have a question or if you want to make an offer on this property, who do you think they're going to negotiate for?
I see your point there.
Yeah, it's the seller, obviously.
So, how much do I have to pay to see this house today?
This is a great segue here because one of the objections is, do I pay or does the seller pay? And so Mike's question is, how much do I have to pay? Well, that's the good news, Mike. You get representation. I work with a lot of buyers, and my buyer clients find that I do a great job of having the seller pay all of my professional fee. That's why they hire me. So does that make you feel a little better about the process?
Well, it does. I mean, I was kind of under the impression that the seller usually did pay the buyer fees or the professional fees. So yeah, does this commit me for an extended period of time, or what we need to do here?
Yep. Objection number three. I'll insert that. Great question. So yes, we put dates on these agreements, Mike, and we can do whatever term you would like. If you'd like to work with me for 6 months, which is what most of my clients do, remembering that you can cancel this agreement at any time. Or if you want to just see how today goes, I can be your agent for today. Which would you prefer?
Well, if I just did it for today, that means I see a house tomorrow. Do we have to go through this whole process again?
Well, actually, we would. So, we could do anything in between as well. Maybe you could hire me just for this month and we can work together for 30 days and see how it goes. I'm 100% flexible, Mike. I just want to help you find the property that you're looking for.
Okay, well, let's do it for a month and see how that goes. And because I really want to get in here and see this house.
I agree. It is a bit
So
of a hassle. And I'm going to bring up the
what
fourth
do I need to
objection.
sign?
I'm going to bring up the fourth objection proactively. I kind of already covered it, and that's what if I'm not happy with you? So I think as agents, if we proactively say what our policy is, now I've shared with you what our policy is. We as a team feel like we're not going to hold people in agreements, and we want the ability to terminate agreement. Look, we've all been there where we have a client that we'd like to fire. And so I think adding something that says, hey, here's a cancellation clause. Maybe it's a cancellation clause with some kind of caveat. Give me 30 days notice to cancel. Give me 48 hours to cancel, whatever it is. And guys, if you're out there practicing and you're not offering cancellation, that's okay too. We're not here to tell you you must have a cancellation clause. That's just how we happen to handle it. If you don't have a cancellation clause, I would highly recommend that your unique value proposition includes some kind of satisfaction guarantee. I don't know about you, Mike, but if I had to sign a 6 month agreement with a buyer's agent and I didn't have some kind of reassurance that I was going to be taken care of, I would probably hesitate to sign that agreement. What do you think?
I agree with you. Let me ask you this. I want to come back to you. When you start explaining these documents, how many objections have you really received as far as people not wanting to sign?
Yeah, so really the answer is almost none.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know you said the same thing, right? I mean, we're creating the objections half the time.
Yeah, we're so prepared that sometimes, especially in our role plays, that we beat each other down. When in reality, I think the buyers are starting to really embrace this concept, and I
That's
think
right.
they're starting to feel protected.
Yeah. So let's go back for a second, Mike. You know, when we ask the buyer, the potential buyer, hey, do you know about some of the changes? Do you know about some of the documents that are different now? Sometimes we're getting answers like, oh, yeah, I heard about that, right? I mean, what are some examples
Exactly.
of like what are they saying to you?
Well, I've heard anything from, yeah, I've heard about the lawsuit, or a friend or a neighbor, or my brother just went through this process. So they're starting to, they don't know the full impact, but they have enough information where they can speak intelligently with us about it, and they're
Yeah.
not blindsided.
At a minimum, they're saying, oh, yeah, I know there's documents I have to sign now. And then I would ask them, well, tell me more. Tell me what documents are you aware of? And if they say none, then, hey, we're going to go ahead and explain everything. But if they say, well, I know there's an agreement that we signed that talks about commission, great. Let them explain it. Because when we over explain, and we've seen this on role play dozens of times, when we start to over explain, that's when we sound salesy, and that's when the client or prospect starts to distrust us because we're over explaining, and that's a problem. So ask a lot of questions and don't create the objections. Make it about the client. So Mike, I'm going to say something and then you tell me why this is bad. One of the things we've heard our teammates and other agents who practice with us say on role play with regard to buyer's agency agreements is, well, this is how I get paid.
Well, as as your potential client, how you get paid isn't a concern to me. My concern is buying my home. Uh, for us to talk about how we get paid, we're hitting that client with commission breath, and it repels them.
That's right. It's like bad breath, commission breath. One of our teammates, Raul, hopped on. I didn't notice he was here. Uh, but the other one that we tend to throw out there that everyone thinks, well, it's the law. Surely that's a great
Mm.
objection handler, and it's not, right? What does that make the client feel? Well, it's the law.
Yeah, that puts the client on their heels. Nobody wants to have the law thrown down their throat. Again, what we're doing here is we're showing them a new home, and this is supposed to be an exciting time for them. Not, we need to put them in handcuffs and make them sign something.
Right. Right. They shouldn't feel like it's being imposed on them. It
Exactly.
should feel like a benefit. The other one, and I see Scott, broker out of San Antonio, wants to chime in here. Let me do one more, Scott, and then hold that thought. The other one that I hear a lot is like the protection idea. Well, this protects me. I'm going to do a lot of work for you, and this keeps you from buying a house with someone else. Now, we don't usually say it that way, uh, but as agents, we tend to like use that whole protection thing. Well, this makes sure that we're working together for 6 months. Again, that doesn't make the client feel safe and secure. It makes us feel safe and secure. So when I talk about the period of time, I think that scarcity is a concept that agents need to think about more because face it, Mike, you're already experiencing this as you're getting more and more clients. You have listings to handle now.
Mhm.
You only have so many hours in a day to handle a
Right.
client. And if a buyer comes to you, I mean, I think you know where I'm going with this. But Mike, why should I commit to you for 6 months? That seems like a long time. Give me what it would sound like if you give me the scarcity argument that your time is your time, you only have only so much time, right?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm not following where you want me to go here because I don't think I would mention about my time. I would
Mm.
mention something more on the line as this is the biggest investment you're going to be making in your life. Do you want to make an abrupt decision and make a decision in haste? Don't we want to do some comparative analysis throughout a period of time?
Yeah. I like
Um,
that. This process is going to take time and it's important to you. I
exactly.
guess, yeah. So I actually like that better. One of the things that comes into my head is that at some point, uh, if they're just not getting it, while we don't want to make it about us, there is one objection handler I do like, and I'm going to throw this out there because maybe we haven't talked about this one, is that look, I only have the capacity to take on a certain number of clients. And I think we've used this one before.
Yeah.
You become my VIP client. When you sign this agreement, yes, you're committing to me for 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, but I'm also committing to you. And I guess that's where I was going in my head with the scarcity argument
Yeah.
is that I can't take on 10 buyers. I have room for one more buyer right now, two more buyers, and I would be happy to take you on as a client. And hey, let's commit to 3 months working together. But keep in mind, we can cancel this agreement at any time. So I know sometimes we think about, hey, making it the benefit of the client, they can cancel it at any time. But I kind of like the idea that it's cancelable on each side. Hey, if we don't like working together or if this isn't working out, we can cancel this agreement at any time. And it creates, yeah, I heard Greg Harrelson talk about this and it stuck with me because, Mike, you've heard Greg Harrelson, right?
Oh, he's awesome.
He's incredible, right? But one of the things he talks about is how valuable we are and the whole scarcity concept, where we shouldn't be in a position where we're begging for business. No, our time is valuable. We're good at what we do. And if we present ourselves as a valuable resource that is scarce, I think that creates value. More of the
Yes.
coaches I'm watching online are talking about that exact concept. When I say to you, well, hey, I'm just following up, do you still want to see that house? Instead, the script sounds something like this. Hey, I had a couple minutes between clients, between appointments, and I know you wanted to see 123 Main Street. I have this time or this time available today or tomorrow. And that projects value and scarcity instead of
Yes.
just, hey, I'm available whenever you want to see this house. Like, I got nothing going on. Just call me. I'm at your service. I don't like that very much.
Yeah. When we talk about this, I always come back to what you told me Brenda has said. Yeah. Don't want to be a pop up or a
Pop Tart.
Pop Tart agent. I
Pop,
think that is brilliant.
pop, don't be a Pop Tart agent. Right. Yeah. Sorry, Scott, we kind of we went on a tangent there. What was it that you had? So, broker out of San Antonio here, getting to spread his Texas wisdom upon us. Don't forget to unmute, Scott.
Okay, I, I think that you all, you kind of, maybe it's a little different in Ohio, but uh, uh, you all kind of mixed a regular buyer rep where they're committing for us to be paid a certain amount, whether it's out of their pocket or if the seller will pay it, with what in Texas at least we just call showing services, which cost the buyer nothing. I mean, we don't charge the buyer anything to show them, meet them at a house and show them a house. Uh, and if there's any objection, we just say that, 99% of real estate agents here are are realtors, not real estate agents. And we explain the difference. And they're going to make, no matter who you show, you're going to have to sign the same thing no matter who you use. That's just part of this, part of the situation now. Uh, so the only point I'm really making is that if you all in Ohio have that type of form like we do, that they just have to sign something just to open the door, but you don't have to necessarily charge them just for that service. You know, every realtor would have to do that, unless like Mike, one of his objections was, unless he went straight to the listing agent.
Yeah. So, Scott, great point. Now, we tend not to use the verbiage about, well, no matter what agent you go to, you're going to have to do this, because we know that there are agents out there who are not doing it. They're just saying, well, I'll get you into this house and then we can sign something later. And, I know for a fact it's happening. I've talked to buyers and they've said, well, I saw 3 houses this weekend and I didn't sign anything. So I think that rather than use the objection handler of, well, no matter who you go to, you're going to have to sign this. I want to pitch it from a form of value. I want to pitch it in, hey, this is a benefit to both of us. We're going to work together. And oh, by the way, the whole idea of, yes, we have showing agreements where, like a non-represented buyer agreement. The problem with those, unless you're just using it to meet the client and build rapport, is that you're basically working for free. And there's, again, I would use, we have fallback positions when we practice scripts. Why not shoot for building rapport on the phone, even though that's the first conversation you've ever had, and getting an exclusive buyer agency agreement signed? I think if we polish our skills, that should be the goal, that every buyer should, at the end of that conversation, just like the one I had a California investor on the phone, and at the end of the call, after we hung up, he texted me and said, thank you. You're so much more knowledgeable and you took so much more time than anyone else I've talked to in Ohio. Now, I didn't ask him how many other agents did you talk to, but in 15 minutes, that guy was thanking me. Thank you, and was happy to sign an exclusive with me. So, yes, the fallback position of unrepresented buyer agreement or showing agreement, depending on your state, is okay. But I would say, why not shoot for exclusive for 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, exclusive just for today or the week. And then your fallback position is, hey, I'll just meet you unrepresented, showing agreement. And if we like each other, we can talk about committing for a longer time. What do you
I
think,
think,
Scott?
yeah, I mean, I think it depends a whole lot on the client. Probably most of the time we just get them to sign a showing services agreement, and then if things start to brew, we have them sign a standard buyer brokerage agreement. Just as a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, our real estate commission came up with a form, I guess, that you were just mentioning, unrepresented buyer agreement. I've told my people, don't use those, because my feeling is that if somebody wants that, what they're really saying is, we don't want representation, therefore we feel we can get half the commission. We are, we, we get a reduction of commission, and so we don't want to be represented. Well, so then when they're ready to buy a home, or things start to brew, and you sign them up, you want to sign them to a buyer rep agreement where they're agreeing to pay you, they're gonna say no. I told you from the beginning we didn't want representation. I think it's
Yeah.
opening a can of worms to introduce that form.
I like to use that as, I like to compare that to a public defender. Yeah, you can go that route, but are you getting the best representation?
Yep. I love it. Well, guys, we're running a little long, so I'm going to wrap up here. Bottom line here is number one, practice so that you don't make these scripts and conversations unnecessarily awkward, unnecessarily confrontational. Don't create objections where there are none. And number two, check with your broker, team leader, manager, and find out what forms you have available. Because I think there's certainly fallback positions that we can take based on the forms that are recommended to us. And my opinion is, hey, when we meet people, if we can express our value, why not sign people right away to a buyer's agency agreement, especially if you have a termination clause. So, food for thought, guys. Drop your comments below if you're watching this on one of our social media channels. Smash the button to subscribe on YouTube and follow the team. And if you want a topic discussed or a script handled, just shoot me a message, Mike at 21mike.com, and we'll do a live training on this. And of course, join us for role play on Saturdays. Just hit me up by email. Thanks, everybody.
Mike, we have a letter that